In the aftermath of chaos and glory, amidst the echoes of roaring crowds and the deafening silence of a settled ring, one story remains. It's the story of a war no one believed would happen, a clash of titans that the world could never forget. This is the epilogue, the final chapter, the untold truth behind the fight that shook the foundations of boxing. This is All Access, Davis versus Paul. From the very first press conference, the air crackled with a tension that was more than just pre-fight hype. It was a clash of philosophies, a collision of two entirely different worlds. On one side you had Gervonta "Tank" Davis, a man forged in the unforgiving streets of West Baltimore, his spirit sharpened by pain, his fists powered by a precision that seemed almost supernatural. For Tank, boxing wasn't a sport. It was survival. It was the only language he knew, the path he carved out of a world that offered him little else. Every jab, every hook, every devastating knockout was a testament to a life spent fighting, not just in the ring, but for a future, for a legacy. He was the embodiment of old-school grit, the ruthless knockout king who carried the weight of his city, the hopes of his people, on his shoulders. He represented the purist's ideal, the technical master, the product of a system that demands blood, sweat, and years of sacrifice. And then there was Jake Paul, the rebel of the ring, the ultimate disruptor. He burst onto the scene not from a grimy gym, but from the glowing screens of YouTube and Vine. He was the digital native who traded viral videos for vicious uppercuts, the provocateur who turned the scorn of an entire sport into fuel. For every expert who called him a clown, for every hater who said he didn't belong, he trained harder, hit heavier, and defied expectations. He turned doubt into a multi-million-dollar empire and proved that hunger, regardless of its origin, is a dangerous weapon. Jake wasn't just fighting opponents, he was fighting the establishment, fighting for a new kind of legitimacy, one built on clicks, views, and an undeniable ability to get under people's skin and inside their heads. He was the new school, the marketing genius who understood that in the modern era, the battle is fought on social media long before the first bell ever rings. The build-up was a masterclass in psychological warfare. It was more than just trash talk. It was a battle for the narrative. Tank, cool and menacing, would let his record speak for him, his quiet confidence a stark contrast to Jake's relentless barrage of online taunts, skits, and call-outs. Jake knew how to create a spectacle. He orchestrated every moment from face-offs to media workouts, turning the promotion into a global event that transcended boxing. He was the villain you loved to hate, and he played the part to perfection. Meanwhile, the Davis camp remained a fortress of focus. Their training was a closed-door affair, a sacred ritual where the only goal was to perfect the art of destruction. They saw Jake's antics as a distraction, a sideshow. For them, the only truth that mattered would be revealed under the bright lights of fight night. This wasn't just a fight. It was a cultural flashpoint. It pitted the hardcore boxing fans against a new generation of followers. It was tradition versus disruption, authenticity versus celebrity. The question on everyone's mind was not just who would win, but what a victory would mean. If Tank won, it would be a validation for the purists, a statement that true skill, born from years of dedication, will always triumph over hype. If Jake won, it would signal a seismic shift in the combat sports landscape, proving that a massive platform and an iron will could break down the old guard's gates. The world was divided, and every single person had a stake in the outcome. Now, let's take you behind the curtain, to the moments you didn't see. The final 48 hours. In the Davis camp, there was a serene, almost chilling calm. In his locker room, Tank wasn't the ferocious knockout artist. He was a man in deep meditation. His coach, Calvin Ford, spoke to him not about strategy, but about Baltimore, about the kids who look up to him, about the journey that brought him to this very moment. It was about channeling a lifetime of struggle into 12 rounds of controlled aggression. Every hand wrap was a prayer. Every shadow-boxed combination a memory of the thousands of hours spent in the gym. The pressure was immense, but for Tank, it was familiar territory. He was born in pressure. Contrast that with the electric, almost chaotic energy in Jake Paul's locker room. It was a mix of a Hollywood movie set and a high-stakes command center. His brother Logan, his team of content creators, his coaches, everyone was buzzing. But amidst the noise, Jake himself was surprisingly centered. He was rewatching footage, not of Tank but of his own past fights, reminding himself of his power, of his ability to defy the odds. He wasn't just preparing for a fight, he was producing the biggest show of his life, and he was the star. He thrived in the chaos he created. The doubt from the outside world only fueled his inner belief. He had a chip on his shoulder the size of a boulder, and he was ready to use it to shock the world. As the fighters made their walk, the roar of the crowd was a physical force. It was a wave of sound that hit you in the chest. Tank, stone-faced, walked out to the raw, gritty sounds of his city, a king returning to his throne. He absorbed the energy, his eyes locked on the ring, the only place where he felt truly home. Jake's entrance was a spectacle, a theatrical masterpiece of lights, music, and bravado, designed to captivate and intimidate. He played to the crowd, soaking in the boos and the cheers, a modern-day gladiator stepping into his coliseum. The bell rang, and the world held its breath. The first few rounds were a chess match. Jake, using his size and reach, tried to establish his jab, keeping the shorter Tank at a distance. He was disciplined, more so than many expected. He wasn't just swinging for the fences, he was boxing, but Tank is a master of closing distance. He moved with a predatory grace, cutting off the ring, his head movement making him an elusive target. You could see the frustration building in Jake. He was landing, but his punches didn't seem to faze the champion. Tank was downloading data, processing every movement, every feint, every twitch. He was waiting for his moment. And then, it happened. In the 5th round. Jake threw a combination, leaving himself open for a fraction of a second. That's all Tank needed. It wasn't a wild haymaker. It was a perfectly timed, surgically precise counter left hand. A punch that started from the ground up, carrying the force of a lifetime of training. The sound of the impact was sickening, a thud that cut through the noise of the arena. Jake's legs buckled. He fell not like a sack of potatoes, but like a building being demolished, a slow, brutal collapse. The referee didn't even need to finish the count. The fight was over. The arena erupted, one half in sheer ecstasy, the other in stunned silence. Gervonta Davis stood on the ropes, arms raised, a triumphant warrior who had defended his kingdom. He had silenced the noise, not with words, but with the brutal poetry of his fists. In the aftermath, the emotions were raw and unfiltered. In Jake's corner, there was a profound sense of disappointment, but also, surprisingly, respect. He had faced the best and he had come up short. He had learned the hard way that there are levels to this game, and Tank Davis resides on a level few can ever hope to reach. In his post-fight interview, a humbled Jake Paul admitted, "He's a special fighter. He was better tonight. I have nothing but respect. I'll be back." It was a moment of grace that won him more fans than any victory could have. He lost the fight, but he may have won a new kind of respect from the boxing world. For Tank, it was vindication. Holding his belts, he spoke about his journey, about the responsibility he feels. This victory wasn't just for him. It was for Baltimore, for every kid in a tough situation who dreams of something more. He had proven that substance will always overcome style, that true greatness isn't manufactured, it's earned. The war was over. The hype had faded, and what remained was the undeniable truth. Gervonta "Tank" Davis was one of the best pound-for-pound fighters on the planet. This fight was more than just a boxing match. It was a story of two different paths to the top of the mountain. One carved through traditional hardship, the other blazed through the new world of digital celebrity. Both fighters showed incredible courage, and both left a piece of themselves in that ring. The war is over, but the story of legacy, for both men, has just begun. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It was a fight for the ages, and its impact will be felt for years to come. What were your biggest takeaways from the fight? Let us know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more exclusive content. We'll see you in the next one.